Now, if you love cruising, you've probably dreamt about living on a cruise ship, but it's not as far-fetched as you might think. There are actually several individuals who do live on cruise ships, and in this video, we're going to share with you exactly how they do it. From all of your options, plus all the costs, we're going to break it down for you to see if living on a cruise ship is actually right for you. Up next. Welcome aboard, cruisers. I'm Don B from Eat, Sleep, Cruise, where we help you see the world one port at a time. Now, our friends and family might joke with us that we live on cruise ships as we cruise so much. But actually, it's one of our dreams to be able to live on a cruise ship. We haven't gotten there yet. And when putting together this video for you, we're really surprised at all the options, as well as some of the hidden costs you don't think about of living on a cruise ship. Now, when I say living on a cruise ship, the first thing you probably think about is picking your favorite cruise ship or cruise line and then booking back-to-back or consecutive cruises for an entire year or longer with that particular line. If this is your plan, we highly suggest you contact someone at the cruise line or at least a travel advisor to make them aware of your plan. That way you have someone working with you as you map out the different itineraries and possibly different ships. The cruise line you choose has a big impact on how much it will cost to live at sea. You could choose a mainstream or family cruise line like Carnival Cruise Line or Royal Caribbean. Or you could upgrade to a premium line like Celebrity Cruises or a luxury or ultra luxury brand such as Viking or Regent Seven Seas. Depending on which cruise line you choose, your per day cost of living on board will differ dramatically. When evaluating cruise lines and the overall costs, looking at the different cruise lines' loyalty programs is imperative. If you're living on a cruise ship, you'll quickly reach the highest tier of that cruise line's loyalty program. Depending on the cruise line, loyalty programs can include perks that will save you massive amounts of money in the long run. Some of these perks can include free laundry service, Wi-Fi, drinks, and specialty dining nights. For example, Super Mario has been living on Royal Caribbean cruise ships for 20 years in interior cabins, mostly on itineraries in the Caribbean. Through the line's loyalty program, he only pays 150% of the cruise fare as a solo traveler. Often, solo guests have to pay 200% of the fare to account for the lack of a second passenger. So before taxes and fees and other add-ons, he typically pays about $150 a day to live on board. However, when interviewed back in 2016, Mama Lee, who lives on a Crystal Cruises ship, said she spent about $450 per day. Accounting for inflation, that would be somewhere around $580 per day in 2023. These two are great examples of the vastly different costs of living on a cruise ship, depending on whether you go for a mainstream or luxury cruise line. But once you've settled on a cruise line, the ship or ships you're going to live on are the next piece of the puzzle. Consider how you want to utilize public spaces like lounges and outdoor decks. Think about the amenities you place a lot of value on as well. If you want a quiet, smaller ship, you'll probably go for an older vessel with fewer bells and whistles. If you want an environment buzzing with energy and lots of fun things to do, you're probably looking towards a larger, newer cruise ship. You also need to pick a ship that's sailing in a region you want to live in, both in terms of the cost and the climate that you desire. For example, voyages in Alaska are generally more expensive than sailings in the Caribbean. They offer a shorter cruise season and cooler weather. The Caribbean is a more affordable year-round cruise region with hot and humid weather. But when analyzing the cost, here we're going to assume that you're sailing in the Caribbean because there are more ships to choose from and ships sailing there year-round. Then you need to decide on the stateroom category. Picking your type of accommodation is important, especially when booking lots of consecutive cruises where you're going to be stuck with your choice for months or possibly longer. Many cruise ship residents choose interior cabins simply because they are the cheapest, and most time is spent on the open decks or in other public areas anyway. However, if natural light is extremely important to you, you don't think you'll do well without fresh air on your own private balcony, those are options to consider as well. Here's a rough idea of what you might pay for a voyage on a mainstream cruise ship in the Caribbean. As a starting guide, expect to pay around $100 to $150 per person for an interior cabin. At $125 per night, that's $91,250 per year for a couple, or $250 per night. Now keep in mind, this price estimate is based on double occupancy for 2 people in the cabin. So if you're cruising solo and don't strike some deal with the cruise line, you'll be responsible for paying what's known as the single supplement, meaning you're on the hook for the complete $91,250 all by yourself. This of course does not include taxes, port fees, daily gratuities, or other add-ons. A balcony cabin goes up to around $175 per person per night, or $350 for a couple. That's $127,750 per year, again, not accounting for those taxes, fees, or gratuities, or other add-ons. On top of the published cruise fare, there are other associated fees not included in the price of a cruise. There are additional taxes and fees listed in the cost before you hit the Book My Cruise button. For example, a 7-night cruise in the Caribbean, you can expect to pay anywhere between $100 to $150 in taxes and port fees per person for those 7 nights. Of course, this is a fluid number that's dependent upon how many cruise ports your itinerary includes and the specific destination themselves. So if we take that average of $125 and multiply it times 2 for 2 people, that's $250 a week. Times that by 52 weeks in a year, and you can expect to pay around $13,000 in taxes and port fees for a year on a ship for 2 people in the Caribbean. Mainstream cruise lines also charge guests daily gratuities, or what's sometimes referred to as a daily service charge. On Carnival and Royal Caribbean, this daily charge is around $16 per person per day for a regular non-suite cabins. It's $20 per person per day on Norwegian Cruise Line. So times those values by 365, and you'd be looking at somewhere around $11,680 on Carnival and Royal Caribbean, or $14,600 a year on Norwegian Cruise Line in daily gratuities. Note, while daily gratuities are automatically charged to your bill at the end of a cruise, it is an optional fee on most cruise lines. Even though you're able to remove or modify that amount, we recommend you keep the charge on your bill as is. If you're going to live on a cruise ship, chances are you're going to want internet access. Most mainstream cruise lines provide Wi-Fi access in the form of various internet packages. For basic packages that include messaging and social media, you can pay around $13 to $15 per day. Internet packages that include the ability to surf the internet, email, or stream music and movies cost somewhere between $18 to $25 per day. Other cruise lines, especially luxury cruise lines, provide internet access to guests for free. If we're to assume it costs around $13 per day for basic Wi-Fi access for one device, that would cost you $4,745 per year. If we assume it's $20 per day, that's $7,300 per year for that high-speed internet access. Keep in mind that Wi-Fi is another reason to research cruise line loyalty programs. Once you reach the higher levels in the program, internet access may become free or will be offered at a discount, depending on the cruise line, once all those costs are taken care of, accounting for any additional spending you might want to do on or off the ship. Most people who live on cruise ships rarely pay for extras like specialty dining or shore excursions. As mentioned before, reaching the highest tiers of cruise loyalty programs can help with this. Some include a set amount of alcoholic beverages or a specialty dining meal per cruise as loyalty program perks. But if you want to indulge in a spa day or take some tours at a certain port of call, be sure to factor those into your overall living on a cruise ship budget. Now that we've gone through the basic expenses for taking up life on a cruise ship at sea, let's see what the average cost to live on a mainstream cruise ship in the Caribbean would be if you opted for a high-tier Wi-Fi package for an interior cabin. Our estimate for 2 people is around $124,550. For a balcony, it's over $161,000. Now, stringing back-to-back cruises on your favorite cruise ship or cruise line is not the only option you have to live on a cruise ship. A great option to consider if you're looking to live on a cruise ship is to actually book a world cruise. World cruises are months long, with some reaching duration of 6 months across many continents. It gives you a chance to make a temporary home on board with lots of other like-minded travelers doing the same exact thing. Usually, it also means that you'll receive additional inclusions in the cruise fare that otherwise might not be included on that particular cruise line. This can be a huge benefit for someone looking to live on board regardless. These can include things like flights to and from the cruise home port, onboard gratuities, laundry service, Wi-Fi, and even alcoholic beverages. World cruises are also convenient for cruise ship residents because it means they can book a large chunk of time on a ship without having to worry about making lots of individual reservations. Further, they're guaranteed to have the same cabin for the entire duration of the sailing. And while those might sound like a lot of work, you can actually purchase a cruise ship cabin. And no, you don't need to buy an actual cruise ship to do this. One of the best ways to live on a cruise ship is to purchase what's known as a residence at sea. Currently, there's only one residential cruise ship operating called the World. It runs like a condo building. Residents purchase their apartment as they would a condo or a house, plus annual ownership costs. The benefit is that everyone is on board for the same reason, to live at sea, whether full-time or part-time. Depending on the size, each apartment has its own kitchen or kitchenette, which allows residents to make their own meals when they wish, or they can dine in one of the ship's 6 restaurants. Residents also have a say in where the ship goes. The path the vessel takes around the globe is determined about 3 years in advance through a resident voting process. When a residence on the World goes on the market, you probably won't find one for less than $1 million. The largest accommodations reach prices close to $8 million. Currently set to debut in 2026, a company called Storylines is set to launch its first residential cruise ship called the MV Narrative. It will set off on a leisurely 3-year journey around the globe. Like on the World, residents purchase their accommodations. Prices here start at $875,000 and go all the way up again to about $8 million, plus those annual living fees. Guests can also purchase seasonal residents, splitting their apartment with others at different times of the year. Living on the Narrative includes laundry service, access to hobby areas, access to watercraft, 20 bars and restaurants, Wi-Fi, select alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages, and access to a private kitchen to cook meals. If you're really eager to live on a cruise ship and you're still in high school or just starting college, consider looking into semester at sea. College students can spend a semester literally living at sea on board the program ship MV World Odyssey. They can take classes on board while also exploring the world. This is done through a partnership with Colorado State University, where students sailing with the semester at sea are officially enrolled for that particular semester. With so many options for living on a cruise ship, you may not know which ship to choose. Well, lucky for you, Heidi and I tested out the 9 newest cruise ships and review them all right here on YouTube. That's right, in that video, we compare the 9 newest cruise ships from cruise lines like Princess Cruises, Royal Caribbean, Celebrity Cruises, and more to help you pick the right cruise ship so your life living on a cruise ship is smooth sailing.